Prednisone is a lifesaver and the devil all in one. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Inject Reflect, episode 2. Sorry, I am all over the place today. We're going to talk about the medications I took while I was getting newly diagnosed. And yeah, don't mind my ashiness or my hair. I washed my natural hair earlier, so we're just trying to let all the oils and stuff sizzle in. But let's get into it. So when I was first getting diagnosed, the first thing they put me on was prednisone. And a lot of my chronically ill girlies will tell you, it's great. Prednisone makes you feel like you're on top of the world, because then you feel like you don't have any pain and you're great and you're good to go. But the problem with prednisone is there's so many side effects that come with it. Personally, I want to say, actually scratch that. We're just going to go back into prednisone. What is prednisone? Prednisone is a steroid, and it helps to reduce inflammation. So in my case, because I have an autoinflammatory disease, which at the time we didn't know, it helped to reduce all the inflammation, because when I was first was having all my symptoms, one of the factors was my CRP was all through the roof. And for all you guys who don't know, CRP is an inflammatory marker. So if you are having an inflammatory response, most of the time CRP ends up being higher. So they give you prednisone, because prednisone helps to reduce that. So prednisone can work very, very well. For me, it worked great. Like, whenever I took prednisone, I was on top of the world. I could do everything. I was in any pain. I was fine. But then the problem is the side effects. There are so many side effects with prednisones, with a lot of medications to begin with. But for me personally, one of the biggest things that I found out was my appetite. I ate so much. And with a huge appetite, most of the time comes with weight gain. So I personally didn't see a lot of change in my weight, like maybe like 5 pounds difference between when I started and when I actually got off of it. But I did notice it in different areas. So first of all, let's get back to eating. I ate so much. My boyfriend said I ate like a linebacker. I am not a linebacker. If you see me here, I mean, obviously the sweater is like huge, but like, I don't have a linebacker build. So I was just eating excessively because I was hungry, because the steroids, I don't remember the whole mechanism right now, but they tend to increase your appetite. So I ate a ton. And then with that, had a little bit of weight gain. I didn't really notice the weight gain, because like I said, it was like maybe 5 pounds-ish that I like realized when I went on the scale and when I went off. But what I did notice is that when I looked at pictures, actually I did this week, when I looked at pictures from like last year compared to this year, my cheeks, as you can see, like I'm pretty, like, I want to say I'm divided here. Like, look at this jaw. You know, I could cut someone with this jaw. Anyways, but last year, I was a little bit puffy. A lot of people didn't really realize, but I did when I saw those pictures, and I was like, oh, I definitely did gain some weight in my face. The nice thing about prednisone is because I also have eczema. So I have eczema here that normally comes around, and I'd have some like under my nose here and like in my face. Oh, when I was on prednisone, that never happened. I was like lovely dovey. Anyways, prednisone has some side effects. There's other side effects like insomnia, and sometimes people get nauseous on it and stuff. I didn't really feel those side effects, but I have heard of those side effects to a lot of different people. Even as being a nurse, I've given it to patients and they have reported, you know, having nausea, difficult sleeping, difficult staying up, like all those different side effects. And if you really want to, you can look prednisone and it will come with all the side effects that come with it. But that's beside the point. Prednisone was okay. Coming off of prednisone was a pain. So I, in the beginning of kind of figuring out what everything was, I had only weeks burst of prednisone. I had like 50 milligrams of prednisone for only a week. And then things would get worse and I went back to the hospital and then they would prescribe me another week, see your family doctor, and then went to see my family doctor. It was still getting worse, and then another week until I saw my rheumatologist, who then put me on prednisone at I think 50 milligrams and then had a tamper, which is what they normally do. Because coming off of prednisone, it like straight off away, like coming from like 50 grams to nothing, can really escalate a lot of symptoms. So that's kind of what happened to me. I would come off of it and it would be like the worst day in the world. So I had a taper schedule and it was all doing well. So I went from like 50 to like 45 down to like my increments were by 5 milligrams. Then I got to, I think, 25 milligrams and some of my symptoms started to come back. And then I was like, this is not working. So called my rheumatologist. She said, go back up to 30 for 2 weeks and then we'll slowly do it every 2 weeks. That did not work again because we got to 20 milligrams and I still was in pain. And then they were like, okay. So she added methotrexate. So actually she added methotrexate when I started the prednisone because methotrexate's, now I'm blanking out. It also has helped to decrease inflammatory markers and stuff like that. It is used primarily in like some cancers because it really does target your immune system. So I was starting on that, but methotrexate takes a decent amount of time to actually start working. Like I'm talking about weeks. So I was on prednisone and then we were doing the taper as I was ramping up the methotrexate, if that makes sense. So I started at like 10 milligrams of methotrexate and then went up to 20 while I was decreasing my prednisone. Anyways, so then like maybe 3 months of being on methotrexate. So at this point it should have started working. No, that thing did not work at all. Because every time I would try to taper off my prednisone after 20 milligrams, it would just get worse. And so my doc was like, okay, this is obviously not going anywhere. The prednisone is the only thing that's helping. Methotrexate is not really doing much. And yeah, so what are we gonna try next? She did put me on hydrochloroquine. That also did not work for 2 months. So now I think it was like October. So mind you, by the time I actually got diagnosed, it was June with my rheumatologist. And so from June all the way to October, we were tapering my prednisone, increasing my methotrexate, trying hydrochloroquine. Nothing was really like working. And she didn't want to keep me on prednisone for long term because long-term steroid use can lead to increased risk of osteoporosis and a whole bunch of other bone disorders, and your like renal and adrenal hormones can all go in whack. There's just like so much that goes on if you use steroids. And so they try to not keep people on steroids for a long time unless it's like the only thing. But yeah, so October comes and at this point we have exhausted all those other areas and I'm still in pain. And I mean like bad pain, like my knees, my wrists, my elbows. Oh, one thing I totally skipped over. During the summer, when I was first getting diagnosed, my elbow, I think it was this one, I could not straighten it like this. It was only like this for the longest time. I went to go get blood work one time and the lady was like, oh, can you stretch out your arm? I was like, huh? I've been trying to stretch it out and it won't move. I'm so stiff and it hurts. So I said, can you just use this arm that stretched out? Anyways, that was a whole nother ordeal, and that's another story for another time, but the blood work got done regardless. Anyway, so where was I going with that? Yeah, so it's just been a time. Anyways, in October, she was like, okay, these are not working. We're gonna try to do a biologic, which is where this came in handy. And so, sorry, my camera is coming off, but we're just gonna fix it. There we go. So yeah, so then she went through the whole funding thing, trying to get approved, trying to get insurance, and she maybe tried timing, or Tocilizumab. I think that's what it is. It is a subcutaneous injection, which means it goes into your fats. And at first we tried to do it every 2 weeks. So at this time I was also weaning off my prednisone, because the thing is, we didn't want to keep me on prednisone for a long time, and this was supposed to replace prednisone, which thankfully it did. But so we started off with every 2 weeks, and so it was like every 2 weeks, and I was on prednisone for, I think I was at like 20 milligrams at that time. And so we started every 2 weeks, but then nothing was really changing. And then I think in December she changed it to every week, and by then I was starting to see a notable change. Like, I didn't wake up with pain in the morning. I wasn't as tired as I was before, and yeah, so then I slowly went off my prednisone, which was thankful because I was tired of eating like a linebacker. And yeah, so I've been on timing since December, and I take the injection every week. The other thing is a lot of you might have noticed, I also still take Methotrexate. That decision was made in February because I did go in and I was still having some like joint pain in my fingers. And it was also getting very like stiff and very, what's that word? Tender, as she liked to call it. And like you could tell there was some like obvious like inflammation around my finger joints. And so then she put me back on Methotrexate, just 10 milligrams, and that seemed to have worked. So now I take Methotrexate once a week, 10 milligrams, and I normally do it on Thursdays in the morning, and then I take my thiamine injection once a week, normally on Thursday nights. And then I also take folic acid, because if you're going to take Methotrexate, Methotrexate can deplete your folic acid in your body. So I take folic acid at least twice a week because I am on a lower dose of Methotrexate, and yeah, so I don't deplete my entire folic acid. So that was my journey of all the meds that I had taken to finally get to this lovely biologic that I take every week. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe sometime in the summer she will try to wean me off of it and see if I can be weaned off of it, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyways, injection time. So I know in my first video I did this side, but then I filmed another video and I did this side, and then I don't really like that video. So we're gonna do this side because obviously last week I did this side. So just so that you guys aren't freaking out and being like, oh, you did the right side again. No, I just didn't show you that video. And let me fix this camera. It's really just bugging me today. But yeah. I still need to go to the store and get more alcohol swabs, because I realize I am out. So at least I'll have some for next week. But yeah. Normally I do this injection after I shower, so I don't really need to clean the area much, but I showered earlier, so I kind of have to clean it now. Oh. And for some odd reason, I tend to always wear white when it's injection days, so I I will definitely be putting a band-aid just in case. Okay. I think we would, oh my god, there's dog hair everywhere. Okay. Oh, I'm realizing this has moved. There we go. So, it's hard to see. Oops, too much sometimes. I think we're good. And we're all done. Lovely band-aid. Done. Perfect. So there you go. That's my little prednisone medication story. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week, but we'll figure it out together. But yeah, if you want me to talk about anything else in my journey, let me know. And then I'll see you guys next week on Inject and Reflect.